In a world where nerds and geeks ruled the galaxy, one man, two men, Sean and Chris, spread the word of their people across this vast universe. The word of movies, comic heroes, toys, video games, etc., etc., etc. There are many podcasts, and this is one of them. You're listening to The Geeks Talk Back.
Hello and welcome to our Valentine's Day episode entitled Looking for Love in Alderann Places. Let me ask you a question. Are you searching for your Rick Grimes in a world full of walkers? Are you Clark Kent searching Metropolis for your Lois? Are you tired of making the Kessel Run solo? Well, check out Dragonfruit. They're a geek-centric dating site where you can find your princess or smuggler amongst the nerf herders. So please stay tuned as Chris and I are joined by our others, Tami and Amber, as we interview Orie, the founder of DragonfruitApp.com.
Hello.
This is Jason Hatfield, and you're listening to Sean and Chris on the Geeks Talk Back podcast.
By the power of Grayskull, we're sending you back to the future! Go! Okay, man, let's turn and burn.
Force is strong with this one.
The plaque for the alternate is down in the ladies' room.
Hi, I'm Patrick Barman, host of the Grand Moff Radio Hour and the Sarlacc Pit podcasts over on the Imperial Podcasting feed. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at ImperialPod.
And welcome back to the Geeks Talk Back podcast. I am Sean.
I'm Chris.
I'm Tammy.
And I'm Amber.
And today we're having our special Valentine's episode. And we have with us on the line on Skype, we have Orie, the founder of Dragonfruit. Go ahead and say hi, Orie.
Hi, Orie? No, that's not right. Hello, everybody.
Okay, and Dragonfruit is a geek-centric dating site. Is that correct?
That's right, yes.
Okay, well, with all the dating sites there are nowadays, what makes Dragonfruit different from the others? What is Dragonfruit all about?
Well, Dragonfruit really does try to take the geek experience into account. That's where we started, and that's the focus for basically every decision that we make. On the one hand, we've got some very important technological differences, which I'm sure your very geeky audience will appreciate.
Absolutely.
Primarily among them is our very special interest-based matching system, which basically means that you put into the system anything you are into, anything you're interested in. We have a huge database of anything that you could possibly imagine, more or less. Going from general things like, comic books, sci-fi, all the way down to the little nitty-gritty points like individual characters and individual traits of things and all kinds of very deep-level stuff like that. And what the system does is it runs the numbers and finds you matches that are based on your interests and finds you people who share things that are not only the same as what you have inputted, but also stuff that is related to it, which actually takes some doing. It's a fairly complex proposal. So I'd say that's probably the most important thing.
Okay, and you said that it actually, cross-references all the different areas of the geekdoms. So, for example, I love Star Wars, but I hate the prequels, just original trilogy. But of the original trilogy, I only like the non-specialized edition.
And Amber is the only one of the four of us that likes Star Trek better than Star Wars.
Right.
And I've never seen the new Star Wars.
Wait, you mean the newest one, episode 7?
Brand new.
I've never seen
that's all right. It's only been a couple months.
So
if you had said that you'd never seen any Star Wars, that might be a serious problem, especially in present company.
I've actually never seen an entire episode, like, at all. And Kristen and I have been doing this shindig for 20 years now.
I don't know how you have survived.
Opposites attract.
But
So-
like,
Go ahead.
so this actually is a really good example. If you say, for example, that you really like the original trilogy, or you really like a particular character from the original trilogy that doesn't appear anywhere else, the first thing that the system will do is match you with people who like that particular character. And then if, for example, that person is a Jedi, then so we have like a category for original trilogy Obi-Wan. If that person is a Jedi, then you will next be matched with people who declared their interest for other Jedi, being sort of light-aligned Force users within the Star Wars universe and within the original trilogy. And then it would go one step further once it looked at all of those different people, and it would find you other people who were interested in other things from the original trilogy. And only once you had done that would it match you with people who are into Star Wars in general. But the interesting thing at that point is that because you are going a level up into Star Wars, that represents a level of match integrity that is greater than would be going down one level into the prequel trilogy.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. So essentially, you can imagine the whole thing as a tree with branches that lead towards this sort of central trunk of geekdom. And as you move towards the trunk, it's more and more generalized. So the things on your particular twig are the really good matches. The things in the trunk are slightly less, and as you move through other branches that are less related to yours, it's even less.
Wow. That sounds pretty involved.
Yeah. I've got some. I write some developer diaries and things on our blog, and there's a big photograph of myself and our lead engineer, like drawing things on a whiteboard in various colors, and it looks it gets complicated.
Hey, Orie, how old is this site? Is it still in beta, or is it moved on from that?
So we started the company in May of last year. We launched the web version in October, and since then we have been in beta, though I never really understood the difference between beta and fine, you know? So I think the beta period is officially going to end when we launch our iPhone and Android apps at the end of this month, which is only 2 weeks away, so it's a very exciting time. That doesn't mean, of course, that anything really material is going to change. Usually when people say beta, they mean that you don't have to pay for it, for example. But even past beta, Dragonfruit is free, will be free, and that's not going to change. So that's also, by the way, a pretty big difference between us and other dating sites. We're free. You say beta and people think if it's no longer in beta, there's no way to submit feedback, and the channels are always open to me and my team. So that if you see anything that goes wrong, or if you have suggestions, or if you hate something, or if you love something, then you can always get in touch with us, and that's not going to change. So I don't really know if the word beta is necessarily accurate for our purposes.
Very good.
Hey, Orie, I got a question real quick. Back to the geekdoms. I did a test earlier today and signed up with the Geeks Talk Back email and all that, and I noticed that you limited it to 3 categories. Is there a technical limitation on why you limited it to 3? Are you guys going to expand that in the future?
Okay.
What's going on with the 3 topics?
Okay, so we designed the profile so that you will have as many opportunities to explain either in words or in images. You can set your background, you can have your profile images, you can have a whole host of ways of displaying what you're about, what you're into, what kind of geek you are, what kind of person you are. Those geekdoms, those 3 categories, specifically speak to the way that the matching works. we've got our sort of player stats section. Those work for filters and things in the search. So you can say in the search area that you don't want smokers, you don't want people with kids, you do like kids, whatever. You only want to meet people who play Xbox. And that, no, seriously. So those will work for the filters, but the geekdoms themselves are the only things that interact with the matching algorithm per se. Now that doesn't limit you, of course. You can put in whatever geekdom you want in the search area, but for the matching section, that's what happens. And the reason it's limited to 3 is because we take we run the numbers on each of those 3. And so you get the most information with 1, and then you add the second one, and it scores it slightly differently, and it shows you different people and different combinations. But as you add more to that, the value of the information reduces. It's kind of like a logarithmic graph.
Okay.
So rather than putting everything you possibly like, you factor down to your big 3.
Exactly, because that's the one that's going to really affect the way that the matching works. Because I mean, it works on averages, right? So if you say the first one, the 1, that's going to give you, the best according to that 1, and then if you take the 2, then it'll only be the best according to a combination of halves. And then 3, a combination of thirds. And if we add another one to that, not only does it not add anything, but it also gets really computationally heavy, and it'll slow the whole system down. So we kind of had to make a compromise, but at the same time, I don't think it really it doesn't detract at all from not having that 4th or 5th or 6th.
Well, fair enough. And plus, it also makes people really sit back and evaluate themselves. As far what they're really into and what they're really looking for.
Yes, exactly, and we do encourage people to think carefully again, because just saying Star Wars, Briggs, you're quite kind of in the middle of the branch,
right? And
you could end up with people from who like the prequel trilogy, if any of them are out there, and you could end up with people who don't identify the people who don't identify with the things that really resonate with you. So the more specific you get, the higher value we can assign to your matches, and the better the whole system works. So we encourage people to think really carefully, because it's really easy to just say, oh, I'm into comic books and movies. If you're on a geek dating website, to be fair, you should probably have some stronger opinions than that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, because there are geeks out there that have their passions almost to a militant level. So
Sean.
Okay, me. Fair enough.
I actually am kind of wondering what this is totally off topic, and my brain's just kind of going in its own little direction. Do you think that with Chris and Tami being so damn identical with everything they do, that they would be a match? Like, do you think this site would match them up, even though we know that that's not like the thing that's going on here?
Ooh.
Careful, Orie.
Like I said, I'm way off topic.
Eventually, I think yes, because there's more to it than just your geekdoms. The geekdoms sort people according to their interests, but like I said, there are also all the other filters. So you've got age filters, location filters, all the regular stuff, gender filters, stuff that you have on every other dating website as well, that just speaks to people's lifestyles and their choices and the things that they're looking for. Now, obviously, that isn't enough to put 2 people together out of the millions of people out there. But I think that those kinds of things do help to whittle down the list fairly significantly. The idea behind Dragonfruit is to make things easier for people, not necessarily to reverse engineer it. I mean, I think if you go to any of the other very well-established dating sites and you put 2 people in with the purpose of trying to see whether or not they match, that would be quite difficult to reverse engineer even there. The idea behind it is to make things easier, to allow people to have a point of contact, to be able to start conversations more easily, to identify with one another and understand something about the personality of the person they're looking at. not just through some of their texts, but some of their passions. And I think that when people are able to display their passions in a much more direct way, you can really learn a lot about a person. So I think that's really where the software shines.
I actually really like that because it creates a conversation just by you talking about the shit you like.
And it always leads to somewhere, right? I mean, you could never really save a person who goes, oh, do you like video games? I also like video games, and that's kind of the end of it. If you have the opportunity to get a little bit deeper in, I mean, my favorite question in the world is why. Anytime I hear anybody say anything, express any opinion, my first question is always going to be why. And I think that that's a very good principle for anybody trying to meet anyone, either dating or in any other kind of context. You say, I love, and trust me, guys, if we had the time, I would be asking this immediately. You said that you had your very strong opinions about Star Wars one way or the other. And my immediate reaction would be why. So if why is the first question that anybody asks, you can really learn a lot about people. Because to take a fairly common example that we see a lot, if somebody says, I like Batman, the question why is very important because you can discover all kinds of things. If somebody says Batman, they might be talking about the Michael Keaton movies, and it might be that they like, whimsical tongue-in-cheek humor mixed with really corny action from the 90s, or it might be that they like really gritty, deep, analyses of the human condition and complicated philosophical questions. And those lead to very different conversations brought about by very different people talking about the same topic.
Well, fair enough. And if nothing else, it sparks conversation, like you said.
Yep.
Well, and then one thing I noticed too is that having looked at other website dating sites, and we're not going to use any names here because it's Dragonfruit all the way. But
thank you.
On some of the other ones, especially being a guy, you put video games on there, and the society as a whole has a stigma of, a 30-something guy living in their mom's basement playing Xbox and on the computer.
Hey.
I just have to put in that at least you exist because apparently there are no women gamers.
Well,
really?
Which I and Amber are here to say bullshit.
Well,
but they're taken.
I love this. You're bringing up some things that I really, really enjoy talking about because the stereotypes around our culture are pervasive.
Absolutely.
And consistently just as wrong could be. And that's part of what I think makes Dragonfruit different, actually, is the fact that we are building a community around what we're doing, as well as just presenting people with the ability to use software. So I mentioned our blog earlier. We work very hard to have the blog that has, community engagement in various ways, that gives advice, that has guest posts from really intelligent experts addressing things from the perspective of the geek community and romance and things like that. And I think that once we have created a community where everybody is on the same page, and nobody is afraid to be themselves, you'll have much more high quality interactions with people. Because as you say, there are dating sites where you go on and you say that you're on that you like video games, or you spend your Friday nights instead of dancing at the best new cocktail bar, and you like things other than hiking and kale, that because everybody's trying to put forward an idealized version of themselves. And the cool thing about Dragonfruit is the idealized version of themselves is, the best geek you can be. The geekier you are, the better, and people really understand each other. And because you've established that as kind of the 0 point of we're all geeks here, so we might as well be honest about it, you can start having some genuine conversations instead of lying about who you are and trying to hide things with the best of intentions, of course. But if if you're lying about who you are, you're going to have a much less fulfilling interaction with people because you're constantly hiding. You're going to have a less fulfilling relationship, and eventually this stuff will come out. You can't hide the fact that you love, sinking 150 hours into the latest Final Fantasy game. That's going to come out. And if it's like 5 years down the line after you've gotten married and suddenly you're turning around and going, you're just not who I thought you were.
Well, and I will tell you, Amber and I have raided together very many nights.
and that's awesome. I think that really is testament to the fact that this idea works, and that if you are looking, it's not that people can't be with somebody who doesn't share their interest. Case in point, I guess, with you guys. It's just that it really helps getting things moving. And I think it's a good place to start. And I hope that my users will see that as well.
Hey, Orie, what is, if you know, what is the geek-et ratio? I mean, if I were to go on there today because, Sean and I just aren't working out anymore.
What?
What are my chances of finding a new geek to be with?
0%.
Sean would kill him first. We have shovels and no water desert.
Wow.
So,
I was protecting you there.
Sorry about that.
All hypothetical, of course.
Oh, of course. Well, I've only spent the last couple of minutes talking to you, and you seem very nice, so I'd say very high. What are the chances? That's a slightly weird question. But you asked
just the geek-at ratio. I mean, is there like a more men on your side, more women on your side? Is it 50-50? I mean, what are the chances for either one, either gender, finding a match?
So the gender ratio in every dating site that I know of, or at least that the statistics are available on, ranges somewhere between 35 to 50% female. It always skews slightly male. Guys. Yeah, it always skews slightly male. The some of the more female friendly sites, which we aim to be, is it might just about hit 50-50, and we are definitely in that range, but because we're growing pretty quickly, it would be silly to slap a number right there. So I mean right now it's somewhere between 35 and 40% women, I think, but it's changing all the time.
What's the last time you looked, what's the total users on the site?
500 plus. Again, nice. Things are changing.
Oh,
and
we're
still very much in early days. We haven't really gone for any kind of advertising or really big marketing push in any way because we've been waiting for the apps to come out, the Android and the iOS, which, as I said, is coming out later this month, at the very latest, early March. And so we haven't really done that. My preferred method of marketing is to do podcasts like yours and to engage people on a personal level, to talk to people directly. I go to conventions a lot and stuff like that, and I really believe that word of mouth is a very is a vital strategy for us, because the good geeks know other good geeks and they all know good geeks, and if you just kind of post random ads places, then you get all sorts. So we like to grow organically. If that means a little bit slower, I don't mind. I want quality users who will interact with one another in a positive way, which of course means that we have a zero tolerance policy for any kind of, marketers or robots or anything like that. You'll never find a single fake profile on our site. That is a personal pledge. If ever there is one, let us know. We'll get rid of it immediately. And if we don't, then, I take that entirely on myself, and I invite people to come and punch me.
So no geeks/porn stars on your site?
No, actually. Bizarre that you should say that. I've actually had conversations with a very nice young lady out of Australia who is both a geek and a porn star. but that's just like a by the way thing because she was doing panels at various conventions about, geeks and sex and things like that. Whether or not she actually has an account, I don't know. But we're certainly not advertising that.
Gotcha.
I'm actually wondering whereabouts most of your users are right now. Are we centraled around a certain location? Is it spread from coast to coast?
Worldwide.
So, where are we at?
Yeah. Currently, the website works and is accessible from anywhere in the United States, the UK, Australia, I believe Ireland, basically the Anglophone world. The reason for that is that once we launch the iPhone and Android applications, those will be able to use the GPS locations from your phone, and will be able to give us nice, accurate information without any kind of user input. Right now, we do require user input for location, but that is going away ASAP because it's kind of caused us problems. Technology ought to be global. This will be global. So we're phasing out the, insert your own location. It'll take it automatically and it'll be much, much better. Now where people are actually based, we're a New York based company. A lot of our users are in the New York area, but we have users from literally all over the world. It's bizarre how these things kind of pop up randomly. The reason I mentioned Australia before was because I got, Twitter messages from people being like, hey, I'm in Australia. Can I use this? And at the time, the location input didn't work for Australian zip codes. So I got on that very quickly and I changed it and I made it. And suddenly we had, several dozen people in Australia turning up and signing up, which was both surprising and very pleasing to me. We are still a young program, and the number of users is comparatively low. Obviously, there are the large websites with tens of millions of people. We'll get there. We will one day, hopefully soon. As it stands now, the user base is somewhat diffuse, and the only way really to change that is for anybody listening to tell their friends, let people know, and that way things will grow in your area and you'll be able to meet people around you through, as I say, the word of mouth campaign. I want this to be the best it can possibly be for my geek friends and all the lovely geeky people out there who I consider to be my community. I have a lot invested in this, not from a financial perspective, from an emotional standpoint. This really means a lot to me personally, and as long as I can do something that somebody wants, that will make somebody happy, or that raises the chances of it working well and people getting good things out of it, I will, as soon as is humanly possible.
So we've kind of touched on the how and the what. But what is your motivation behind this whole site? What is your origin story?
It starts, as most great things do, with loneliness and alcohol. Basically, a couple of friends of mine had been single for a while. One of them had been newly single out of a very long and difficult relationship, and we would get together every Friday night to play various board games. And it took a couple of months to convince them to go online and start checking out the online dating, and it became kind of a game for us on the side of whatever collaborative or competitive board game that we were playing. On the side, we would always be sort of looking at people's profiles and writing messages and trying to make their profile as good as it could possibly be. And after a fairly long time of this, of them trying it out and trying to meet people, they just started saying, like, this doesn't work. This doesn't work for us. For people like us, who do like playing video games, who spend their Friday nights playing board games, it just doesn't work for us, because people with their idealized versions of the Adonis that they want to meet, who, works with puppies with cerebral palsy and who, exclusively eat kale smoothies. I don't know why kale all the time. It's really weird.
It's really not that
it's just
good.
not them. And when you try to be honest with people and you tell them what you're actually like, it kind of turns them off because they thought that they were talking to Ryan Gosling and they ended up talking to Jeff Goldblum.
I like Jeff Goldblum.
Who doesn't like Jeff Goldblum?
That is an awesome analogy.
Thank you. Now, I think all geeks think that Jeff Goldblum is awesome.
Absolutely.
He's
but
amazing.
There are plenty of people out there who are looking for their Ryan Gosling, and they're not going to find it among the, gamer population. Or maybe they will, but that's a whole different story. I certainly don't want to be making any stereotypes myself.
Our apologies to Ryan Gosling.
I don't think he needs our apologies.
I'm just covering my bases here.
Hey, Orie, back to you were talking about how the iOS and Android, you're going to do it, I'm assuming GPS based off the location of the phone.
Yeah.
I noticed when I was setting up the account today that it limited you to 100 miles from your zip code. Is there a particular reason for that? Are you trying to avoid the catfishing, as it were? And are you guys going to keep that restriction? Or are you going to allow somebody to, say, search for somebody in a different zip code? Maybe I want to move to California or Washington or something like that. Is there a particular reason why you limited the distance?
The reason for the distance limitation really is a matter of pragmatism. I think that once you get more than 100 miles out, I could be completely wrong. But once you get more than 100 miles out, it's probably going to be more difficult for you to meet whoever you're trying to meet in person. That's just a limit that I set pretty much arbitrarily. If somebody gives me a compelling reason to expand that, I can do so fairly easily. But I think it is important to note that only applies to the matching section of the website. And if you go into the search section of the website instead, and you can search by any zip code you like.
Okay. I didn't delve that much into it. Amber was watching over me like a hawk.
I was not. He's lying. And I actually have a really compelling reason to spread it beyond 100 miles.
Does it have something to do with you guys being in Nevada?
It does. We are in rural Nevada, and seriously, 100 miles to the biggest town close to us isn't a big deal around here.
I completely understand. And I looked at the map actually before we got on the line, and 50 miles away gives you Reno, but not much more than that. If you do live in a rural place, and there are plenty of extremely rural places in the United States, that you're not going to be 100 or 200 or even 500 miles away from any meaningful population center, then you should definitely feel free to just pop in the zip code of the next town over and see what comes up. The search has a field for your geekdom as well, which means that you can put in your own geekdom and all of the other filters, including a zip code and a distance filter, and it will run the same matching algorithm on that geekdom as it would in the matching. The matching is just tailor-made for you, and then it sorts it in the correct order. But it also means that you have the freedom not only to look in other places, but to look at other geekdoms. If, for example, as you said earlier, you have one person who is really into Star Wars and one person who is into Star Trek.
That's right.
And you learn about yourself that you actually
wrong.
really like Trekkies.
That can't
there's
work.
something about Trekkies that really speaks to you. Or you really want to
they're cool.
learn. Yeah, of course. And you really want to learn about something. For example, let's say somebody has been talking to you recently about the differences between the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the Marvel comic books. And you don't know anything about the comic books. I use this example because this is me personally. I don't know anything about the Marvel comic books. I could put Marvel Comics into the field there and find people to talk to about those topics that I'm just kind of interested in, or the kinds of people who like these things happen to be the kinds of people who I like. So you have absolute freedom to do pretty much whatever you want. And if it comes to, catfishing issues, things like that, feel free to liberally use the report this user button. It's right there at your service, and it all comes directly to me.
Oh, very cool.
That's good to know.
So walk us through the process from Lonely Nerd to Dragonfruit Intervention to Happily Nerdy After.
Okay.
So here I am, Friday night, board games, striking out the dating sites. I go to Dragonfruit. What can I expect?
So the first thing that you would do is, as we've already discussed, put in your geekdoms, and you would think about that, and you would try to be as honest and as specific as possible. And once you have done that, and once you've created your account, you would go straight to the match section. And the match page, the menu is across the top bar or in the side menu if you're on a mobile device. The matches will show you immediately the best people who are currently on our site, according to the filters and the geekdoms that you have inputted. So it'll show you the people of the right age group, the right people of the right gender, people in the right location, and most importantly, it will show you in an ordered list who you are most compatible with from an interest perspective.
Okay.
Your next step, you have these face cards, and you can either like or discard them. That's quite, similar to the way that other websites look these days. However, it isn't random. The system is working very hard in the background. It is not random. And once you have somebody who you like, you should go to their profile, read a little bit about them, and send them a message. And the great thing is that sending a person a message does not require you to come up with some kind of sparkling pickup line that's going to immediately woo them. And, it isn't that hard. You already have all the information you need right there in their profile. They've written, a funny little origin story. They've written all kinds of their favorite geeky things. They have their geekdoms there, which is what you have based your match on. They've written all kinds of fun stuff in there. And any one of those things, any one of the photos that they have, the background that they've chosen, these are things that you should be using to start up a conversation. And hopefully, they will speak to you, and you will have a conversation, and you'll have all kinds of things to talk about because you're all geeks already, and you're in the same space, and it's a safe space to talk about whatever. And anything that you may have hesitated in the past to tell anybody, on online dating because you think it's embarrassing, will probably be that thing that your Dragonfruit match is going to think is awesome. That's where the magic happens, the beginnings, those wonderful first interactions. And from there, you date, get married, have kids, and die eventually, I guess.
Okay.
Sounds like a good order.
Okay, so you have it all planned out. Okay, got it.
Well,
okay.
I mean, you could die before getting married, but that isn't legal in most states.
Well, we're out in Nevada. It's different out here.
Now, yeah, I will add one thing though. We're working on some interesting features that make this process even easier for you. We're working on building a virtual assistant that is able to intelligently read your profile and make suggestions on how you can improve it using maths and statistics and advice from experts. And we've distilled all of that into some really sophisticated code that is able to tell you how to make the best impression without actually, making stuff up. It can look at your messages if you want it to and suggest ways in which you can improve your interactions. Again, not lying, but just trying to sort of put your best foot forward. For example, try to keep the swearing to a minimum in your very first message. Probably don't insult people before you even have a chance to talk to them. That kind of stuff. So we're building that, and hopefully people will find that helpful. We're building a date location recommendation engine, kind of like Amazon for dates. It'll look at where you are and where the person you're talking to is, and it'll take those locations and find a place that's more or less equidistant according to a curated list of cool geeky date spots that we will have amassed. There's all kinds of cool stuff that we're doing to try to the buzzword for any kind of development we're doing is how to make this easier for somebody to reach their end goal, which is happiness with another person.
That sounds amazing. So now, going through your website earlier, it says that you're kind of going to have some premium features later on down the road. What are some of the features that you plan on having that are going to be of the premium level?
So those were the ones that I just talked about.
Oh, those. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, anytime we ask anybody to put any money forward, that's always going to be for the sake of a genuinely useful, helpful feature. I don't believe in taking money from people to do what I've already promised them that I'm going to do. So right now, and for the rest of time, you will be able to access the site, write as many messages as you like, create your account, look at everybody in all those things that many other websites don't let you do unless you front up, $45 a month. We let you do for free because it's only fair. You can't expect people to pay up without seeing any kind of results at all, no guarantees. So that's certainly not what we're doing. Anytime anybody wants to pay, it'll be for something that they will find genuinely useful, that will be based on some actual clever technology that we will have built, and that will improve the experience in a way that they would not expect otherwise. We want to continually surprise people and exceed expectations, and because developing these kinds of clever things is really expensive, there are going to be elements of those that we will indeed call premium and ask for people to pay for.
Very cool. So now, primarily this is a geek dating site, but
yes,
is there an opportunity for people who have already found their Harley Quinn or their Jokers to be able to, network or just, talk about similar interests?
Yeah, actually, we found that a lot of people, first of all, the looking for section is a popular place of interest because you can be looking for long-term, short-term relationships, etc. But you can also just be looking for friends. So some of my friends who are in relationships are already on the site, and they've been talking to all kinds of people from all over the country. Just because it's nice to talk to people, particularly people who share your interest. I mean, this is why Reddit exists, right?
Right.
So it's a really nice way to see who you're talking to, get some information, and just find new friends. And particularly, I was talking earlier about the search area where you can put in your own zip code. It means that you can find like-minded individuals if, for example, you do move to a new city or something, and you just want to get a D&D group together, or you want to meet somebody to have coffee with and show you around the center of downtown wherever, you can just, you click on look for new friends, and you can look for people in that zip code even before you move, and it'll hopefully make things a lot easier for you as you move around the country, or if you travel and you're only there for a few days, or whatever. We have found that some of our users really enjoy the ability to talk to anybody anywhere about stuff that they share a common interest, without any implication for a relationship or romantic anything at all. And I think that's great.
I think that's actually absolutely fantastic. So it's not only just for, dating, but it's also for just geeks in general, nerds in general, to basically share what they love wherever they happen to be.
Yeah.
Hey, Orie, what's the most popular geekdom that you guys have found from your users?
Ooh. I do not have an answer for that. Like I said, these things change all the time. And it's one of those data points that's kind of difficult to nail down. I see a lot of gaming-related things. I see a lot of Marvel-related things. Comic books are definitely high up there. I see a lot of Star Wars. The kinds of stuff that you would expect, because they are generally more in the public mind right now, in the zeitgeist right now. But to give you a single one, that's hard. I don't think I can do that.
How about the most obscure?
Our list of possible geekdoms that you can choose from is 50,000 plus data points. And yet, every single day, I get email alerts saying, hey, this user has put in a geekdom that isn't on your list. Add it. Like, it's an automated thing. Anytime anybody adds something that isn't on the list, I get a thing, I get an email, and I immediately add it to the list, along with everything that surrounds it. So it grows very, very quickly, and it happens every single day.
So have there been any of them been added that you've said, no, not going to happen?
Well, they haven't been added then.
Or suggested to be added?
Only one ever, and that's because it was it was straight up offensive.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Okay, fair.
I
fair
will
enough.
say no more. I don't want to implicate any particular user.
Fair enough. So
Because all
basically,
this stuff is searchable, right? So
right. So basically, it's pretty much if you like it, it'll be there for the most part.
That's what we aim for. Yeah, that's what we aim for.
Or can be added.
Or can be added. If you
Yes.
put in something that we haven't thought of, it'll come to me. It'll be added.
I have a question for you.
Please.
Have you found your geek yet?
I have.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Was it through your site?
It was not through my site. That would be fast. But no, but we did connect over very nerdy things. So she's a big Star Trek and Harry Potter fan.
Very cool. Very cool.
I actually have another question for you. I am truly a closet geek. I won't really admit to anybody that I'm a geek. I kind of hide, and nobody really knows the true me. How do you get somebody like me to get on the site? Because I really am geeky, but I hide it really well.
Well, everybody's true selves comes out when they hit a web browser, don't you think?
No.
What you say to
through your web history,
what you say to people in your
I hear that
workplace
daily.
or to people at bars or at the park or whatever is going to be very different from the stuff you're putting into Google or Facebook or anything else. If you're searching for stuff, if you type into YouTube that you desperately need to see the new Deadpool trailer, that's going to say something about you. So I don't see why you would act any differently when it comes to choosing between all of the different dating sites. If you know in your heart of hearts that you are a geeky person and that you like geeky people, you should be looking for a geek dating site. It doesn't matter what you say to anybody else because hopefully the stigma has passed where people say, oh, we can just say we met at the library. But I get it. People can be a little bit nervous, and I don't think that when people are being truthful with themselves, which I think is the most important part of online dating, not only do you need to be truthful with the person that you're talking to, but you really need to be honest with yourself about what it is that you are looking for, because otherwise how are you going to find it? That will hopefully lead you to our door.
You know, she's not as closeted as she thinks. We got her to go to the Comic-Con last year, and she's begging to go again this year. So she is coming out of her geek shell.
There were some really good authors there. I really want to go back and buy some more books for Sean to carry around for 5 or 6 hours for me.
Nice.
So
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So you touched earlier that you go to the conventions and all that. How are you getting the word out at the different conventions?
Mostly because of the stage that we're at. I prefer to simply be an attendee, walk around, start conversations with people, ask them questions about what it is that they want, what their opinions are about, online dating, how we can improve the experience, things like that. I flyer sometimes, I have a stack. Most of the time I give out business cards because I want people to be able to feel as if they have a direct line to me, because it really is true. So a lot of the time I'm an attendee. Otherwise, I'll be doing panels. I love doing panels because it means that I can not only tell people about the product, of course, but obviously they're not just going to be, panel like hour-long ads for the product. What I like to do is to talk about something that people will find interesting, that people will find helpful. And so I get together people from all kinds of different places, experts in various fields who have nothing to do with us either, and put on a panel that people will find interesting. I rarely do an actual booth, but I will do a few this year because, a lot of people just walk by and it helps to get to people. Right. But what I really enjoy the most and what I think is most effective and creates the largest number of quality users is one-on-one, face-to-face interactions that you can really connect to people.
Now, have you thought about doing any events like at the conventions, maybe like a speed dating event or anything?
I have thought about it. Yes, it will happen at some point.
Okay, fair enough. Do you make it out to the West Coast at all?
I haven't yet, but I'm definitely planning on it. I'm not sure exactly when or how, but I definitely want to.
Say, because we're like dead smack in the middle of nowhere, and we've gone to San Diego as well as Salt Lake City, and there seem to be a lot of lonely nerds and geeks out there.
They're everywhere. That's not the lonely part, but geeks and nerds are everywhere.